Chapter 17, Futures Unveiled. After watching and talking about the last video, Blaze went on, keep in mind that the future for you hasn't happened yet, and that the future is alterable. What is in my mind, shrouded by an MA, is one path for the world. The more we bring knowledge back to earlier times, the more variable that future becomes. We all have a part to play in the world and the health of our planet. What I give you today will be the seeds that will ensure our future existence. It can be said that the future of the world depends on your actions. No pressure though. You won't specifically realize that after your MA. If you did, you might just crack under the pressure. So, for your safety and of those around you, those memories will be ghosted. Oh, and we will also have some time to talk about some personal things from the future, if you would like. At that comment, Caleb gulped and looked over at Grace. Through all the events of the last few weeks, he still hadn't found a way to let her know that they would be together in the future. Guess that changes today, he thought. What do the rest of our school years look like? Asha asked. You will be visited again and provided with an extensive set of sessions with new learning when you're in senior high school, Blaze responded. You will learn again of the future and time travel when you're about 16 years of age. At that point, you will be given more advanced skills, contained in a program called Clever Quotient. All of you, and especially you Asha, need to be ready to take on your leadership roles for an improving world. At that point, the race begins in earnest to save the Earth. They talked non-stop for the next 2 hours. Interspersed with answering assorted questions, Blaze outlined how they were going to be instrumental in future events. Caleb had gotten things started by asking if everyone was going to be able to time travel in the future. Those willing to put in the hard work to prepare and train have a good chance of becoming successful time travelers, Blaze responded, but it's not really for everyone. It requires a huge time commitment, an ability to retain immense amounts of information, and superlative piloting skills. Those that have worked through the Clever Quick and Clever Quotient systems are ideally suited. Beyond the knowledge and technical requirements, a person needs to have the utmost respect and care for living things on this planet. The individual's personal connection to nature is what makes the whole time travel experience possible. You'll recall that the DNA of the traveler makes a link with the DNA of the tree. That is almost a meditative experience as the person needs to center and calm themselves. It involves mindfulness. You may know it as being self-aware or being in the moment. Only then can the focus be achieved to make the connection. You will each have opportunities, but it won't be for everyone. Throughout the various discussions, Grace, Asha, and Caleb basically sat on the edge of their seats, completely absorbed with the information they were receiving. Finally, Grace asked the question that Caleb had been dreading. She asked Blaze if they know each other or work together in the future. Good questions, Grace, Blaze had begun. The short answer is yes to both. The three of you will work closely together and be responsible for many positive gains that the world will make in creating a sustainable future. All the information that I have received from farther into the future indicates that. I know I have the memories to verify it. I just can't identify all the specific details. In other words, I have received the information, but I have had MAs conducted on me. Our 28-year-old self will know all the details. I can let you know the specifics of how we know each other in my time, 8 years into the future. Caleb knew what was coming and he sat back and shut his eyes. So, 8 years from now, Grace, you will be working toward an advanced degree in medicine and engineering at a prestigious institution on the east coast of North America. The discoveries you make and the way you bring the scientists of the world together will be one of the most significant developments in putting the planet on the right course for generations to come. Caleb opened his eyes. That news he was not expecting. Grace looked shocked. She was sitting back with eyes wide and mouth open. As for you, Asha, you will be the primary organizer of a new world order that breaks through barriers of race, politics, religion and cultural divides that have kept us apart as humans. Just as Grace will bring the scientists together, you will bring the leaders of the world together. Just to be clear, it's not that you will be solving all these issues on your own, succeeding where others haven't. It's that you will have a unique ability to bring together bright minds from all corners of the world, inspiring them to collaborate. It will be their solutions that you will market. You will find enough common ground that you will receive buy-in from all. You're well on your way in my time, but I also have clear, unghosted information from the future that signals that you are successful in bringing all peoples of the world together in the common pursuit of a sustainable planet. Now it was Asher's turn to sit back with wide eyes and an open mouth. And Caleb, you can see what you're doing in 8 years. I'm right in front of you. Let me summarize my role. Aside from making sure you all get the best start on your learning, so you can accomplish the things in your individual futures, I'm sure you all realize by now that I travel to many places, connecting with many people. I, that is you Caleb, in the future, belong to a worldwide network to plant the information that will reverse the effects of climate change and open up the path for Grace and Asher to make the really big multi-generational changes required. It's our job to travel the Fibonacci spiraling waves, making sure the right information is in the right minds and is activated at the precise times needed. I know that I continue to work closely with both of you, Grace and Asher, in the distant future. I just don't have the specifics because of the MAs. Caleb sat back, mulling over what sounded like an incredible job description, and a little stunned that it was his job. Then Blaze continued. And one more thing. Grace and Caleb, in my time you are together as a couple. What? Did I correctly hear what I think you just said? Grace sat bolt upright, staring at Blaze. Yup, your older self is my girlfriend, Blaze calmly related. Caleb let himself sink further into the couch cushions. Beads of sweat were forming on his forehead as he nervously glanced at Grace. There's more. In the future, beyond my time, I believe we are also still together. For the specifics, you'll have to ask our 28-year-old self. Grace slowly turned and looked at Caleb. Caleb wasn't sure what to say, so he remained silent and looked straight ahead, avoiding eye contact. Blaze went on. Soon the meeting was coming to an end. There were many incredible things they had learned, but they knew they soon wouldn't recall the details. Certainly thankful for that, Caleb thought, stealing a glance in Grace's direction. Sure enough, Blaze had the pen out. Look this way, Blaze directed. This is a partial MA you're getting today. I've set it so that you will retain the memories related to the instruction you received today but won't have the specific memories of the events of the future that you have learned about. There was an intense blast of light and a high-pitched squeal. Their immediate response was to clutch their ears and close their eyes. When they opened them, they looked around and met each other's gazes. Feels kind of weird, Grace began. Look at the time, Caleb suddenly remarked. Grace, weren't we supposed to go over to your place and finish getting our presentations ready for the passion projects? That's right. Asher replied. Where has the time gone? Well, you probably all realize that you've had an MA. I told you that you would know. But I should have warned you about the strange feeling of having a chunk of time just disappear. It can be a little disorienting. In your case, we've been talking for several hours. You now have lots and lots of information in your brains. It's buried though, so you won't have any immediate recall of the details. Now, it's off to Grace's place. I promised to help you with your presentations. With that, they packed up their things and all headed off. Once at Grace's, they settled into the family room seating. As they sat and talked, Caleb's eyes flitted from picture to picture on the vast collage that filled the family room wall and spilled out into the hallway. Fascinating collection of pictures. I don't remember you having such a big display, Caleb commented. Just a few of my favorite things. And I just put them all up the other day. This would be the first time you've seen them, Grace responded. Let me guess your favorite animals, just from the pics, Caleb laughed, as he began counting the repetitions of certain animals. I'm seeing the most for horses, then dinosaurs, and finally sharks. Correct on all three. But you probably already knew them, so that's cheating, Grace pointed out. Well, horses yes, I knew that, But I didn't know you liked dinosaurs and sharks so much, Caleb responded. If you look closely, you'll see that most of the dinosaurs are predators. And we all know about sharks. It's got to say something about a person when they favor animals that rip others to shreds, Asher commented, feigning fear and moving away from Grace. Haven't seen that side of her yet. Thanks for the warning though. I'll be more careful, Caleb replied. You better both be careful. I wouldn't trust me if I were you. I even keep and train a bloodthirsty killer that lives in this house, Grace said, gesturing to her cat Momo, who took that moment to stroll into the room and join them. Not sure if a killer of mice would rate in the same category, Asher laughed. But, whatever. Momo came to a sudden stop in the middle of the room and stared at Blaze's bag. His nose began sniffing the air. Momo advanced toward the bag. Then it moved. Startled, Momo leapt back. Out from the top of the bag, Zuki emerged. I never noticed Zuki's short tail before. Did he have an accident? Grace asked. Nope, genetic, Blaze explained. He was born that way. In the middle of the room, Zuki and Momo were touching noses. Next, Zuki flicked a switch on his collar, using his right paw. What followed were a series of meows, hisses, growls and chirps, along with what was obviously a rather sophisticated series of body motions. There were no English words though, so those in the room had no idea what they were talking about. They looked questioningly at Blaze. Private conversation. Zuki turned the collar off. He does that occasionally, Blaze noted. Zuki and Momo were still making sounds and gestures. That went on for several more moments before Zuki finally flicked at the collar again with his paw and turned to Grace. Momo has asked me to pass along some feedback on the restaurant menu. Yes to chicken, definitely yes to the beef, not too fond of the tuna, and the salmon is repulsive, Zuki started. If it's not too much trouble, he'd also like his bed moved out to the corner of the family room, next to the scratching post. I was also telling him about my favorite toys. Why do none of his toys have catnip? Have you got something against catnip? You know, I'm pretty sure he would enjoy some catnip mice. He would also like to put an order in for a Neko fly. He seemed really interested when I was telling him about mine. I think you can probably order one online in your time. Stifling laughter, Grace responded, I'll get right on those requests, Zuki. Tell Momo that I'll do my best. With a flick of his paw, Zuki was back in private mode. After a few moments of mewing and chirping, Momo rubbed against Zuki and strolled over to Grace, purring and rubbing against her ankle. Well, you've made Momo very happy. He loves it here, by the way. Oh, one more thing. Tell me about that stuffed cat on the shelf. I found it somewhat unsettling and was intrigued to find that Momo also was a little put off by it, Zuki inquired. Ha ha, that would be Floyd. I've had him since I was a very little girl, Grace began. I know he doesn't look very happy, but I always thought of him as smiling on the inside. He reminds me to look beyond the surface when I meet people and to take the time to really get to know others in meaningful ways. My mom got me to think about that when I was young. I've never forgotten it. Very insightful, Grace, Zuki mewed. I'll explain that to Momo. He will be very touched, I'm sure. Well folks, Blaze finally interjected, it's time we talked about your presentations. Let's gather at the kitchen table. Blaze began by summarizing several points about how they were to go about sharing the new learning from their projects with their class in the upcoming presentations. I know that your projects have all types of components, but the common element is that you have some information and some points that you want to get across to your classmates. I know that you've just about completed them already, so the information in the next video may be a little late to be a full benefit. Keep your projects in mind as we review some things from the upcoming video you'll be watching, video A17, Informing Others. This video reviews the writing process, but the same points apply to other types of presentations. So, they'll be somewhat useful now as you finish up your current projects. The following steps are involved: 1. Choosing the topic, 2. Brainstorming for all related ideas, 3. Making an outline, 4. conducting research and assembling notes. 5. Adjusting the outline and arranging information. 6. Writing a first draft. 7. Revising. 8. Writing the final draft. And 9. Proofreading. It's the making an outline and the adjusting the outline sections that I want you to think about. I know that in the last video you learned about mapped outline diagrams, MODs. They were introduced as a note-taking strategy in relation to understanding information. You'll find that they can also be used to create a general outline for a project. You should always approach research for your project with a general outline like this in mind. This acts as a guide. Your diagram allows you to sort all the information into the sections you will have in your final report. Don't be reluctant, however, to modify your outline considering new information you gather. Even now that you've just about completed your project, you should keep an open mind. If you find something relevant to add, it is easy to slip it into your mod outline and then put it directly into the correct part of your project. Blaze also had them thinking about some different formats of presentations by asking them for examples they were aware of where an effort was taken to give information to someone. Grace had an example. You know, we're talking about sharing information with others. I've heard lots of stories about Grampy Rick and Grammy Rika when they were school principals. Apparently, they taught their students about composting, solar power and the use of runoff drain water for gardening. They worked to have the students come up with the plans and then they helped make the plans become a reality. So, sharing information isn't always about making a presentation or writing something. It can be about talking and sharing and drawing out knowledge that people already have and helping them to organize it and perhaps see it from a different perspective. Absolutely, Grace, Blaze responded. Good points. Asher also mentioned that he was creating a graphic novel in a comic book format. Blaze agreed that that definitely was a way of sharing information. Asher next mentioned the title, which was Battling the Forces of Deception. It apparently had to do with a group of friends that were all about following the pursuit of truth and knowledge. Together they set out to save the world. He went on to explain how many family members were already lined up to help with different parts of the project. Blaze said he recognized how the theme connected with their learning and thought it was a great way to get some of the clever quick ideas into a meaningful format. Blaze, do you mind if I take a moment to check with the others about the names in my story? Asher asked. Blaze nodded. Asher went on to share the names of the characters. After sorting through many ideas, the names I'm thinking of using are Courageous Caleb, Amazing Asher, and Gallant Grace, Asher went on. Grace was quick to comment. There's nothing wrong with those names exactly, but I'm not sure they are really inspiring for superheroes. Besides, would everyone know what gallant meant? I do, and I appreciate you calling me that, but not everyone will know. Don't you think? Maybe a space theme might be more exciting. Yes, that sounds good, Asher. You could start with Spacey Gracie. Caleb offered. Well, I certainly do appreciate the name suggestion, created Caleb, Grace responded with a laugh. Not too helpful. Don't think those names will work. Perhaps we should each have a chance to come up with our own names. I can be Astronomical Asher. That would fit the space theme. Or maybe Atomic Asher, that would be easier to say, Asher announced. Hey, not bad. Okay, how about Galactic Grace for me? I think I like the ring of that. Not bound by the usual gravity of Earth. Grace suggested. Nice. I'm thinking Cosmic Caleb. I like the way that sounds, Caleb offered. Those are great. I'll use them in the story. Now I need some bio cats to go with us. Wait, no, how about Enviro Cats? You know, some faithful companions that serve to protect all the species on planet Earth. I think I should put Momo and my cat Guskus in. Too bad you don't have a cat, Caleb. I'm not sure your turtle would be up for the task of saving the world. I think it would need to move faster. Asher mentioned. Now just a moment, Caleb most assuredly has a cat. It's me. Zuki said, poking his head out from the bag on Caleb's lap. And I certainly could be persuaded to join your story if I can make up my own name. We do get descriptor names, just like you folks, right? Blaze laughed. Absolutely, perhaps you could suggest some names for the 3 Enviro cats in the story, Asher asked. Actually, I was thinking of 5 Enviro cats. We can add Pabu, Auntie Nick and Uncle Cam's cat, along with Max, who is Auntie Cara and Uncle Michael's cat. And yes, I'd be happy to work on some names. Right away I'm thinking as a group we could be Sophisticats or perhaps the Catalyst, a group of A-list cats. Give me a little more time. I'll get back to you, Zuki promised. After some more idea discussion, Blaze wound down their talk. I think that brings our discussion about your projects to a close. I'll be looking forward to hearing how your presentations go, Blaze said, wrapping up the session. It was then that Blaze informed them all of an emergency that was going to take him to California. He needed to meet with some people to unveil some memories that were required, related to some laws that needed to be passed in the state legislature. It was not originally his case, but he was the closest in time and proximity. He would be traveling via conventional aircraft, leaving the very next day. Zuki, I know I promised to take you back to the lab, but that's going to have to wait, Blaze noted apologetically. That's disappointing, Blaze, but I'll make the best of it. Have a good trip, Zuki mewed as he looked around the room. His gaze stopped at Caleb. He seemed to be lost in thought, and if you looked closely, you might see that Zuki's mouth had taken on the appearance of a slight smile.